Hello, everybody. Welcome to this virtual evening with for Nottingham Forest supporters. We thought it would be a good idea in lockdown to try and keep everybody entertained. So we got together three players from the same era, three players that you know really well, one player that's still playing now, and we thought we could reminisce and take some questions as well from everybody during the course of what we're about to do. Three lads who came through the academy together, three lads who were developed by Paul Hart together, three lads who played in the Forest first team together, three lads who all played for Tottenham together, and three lads who all went on to play international football as well. We're joined by Michael Dawson, by Jermaine, Jenas, and by Andy Reid. Fellas, first and foremost, thank you very much for doing this. We should have some tremendous fun in the next half an hour or so, thinking back to some of those stories. And I know that all three of you are in fantastic form. Michael, let's just... Say again, Jay.
Are we keeping it professional then? Is that what we're doing?
We can plumb to depths that we've never plumbed to before.
Really?
During the course of this half an hour.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Michael, let's kind of just start with you, with just what you're doing during lockdown and how you're making sure that when the season restarts, if it restarts, that you guys can hit the ground running and try and get that promotion to the Premier League that you're all so desperate to get.
Yeah, well, obviously from my point of view, being on with the family, the kids are keeping us busy. The wife's doing a lot of the whole homeschooling, and I'm taking care of the young one while she's doing that. On a more professional side, as in fitness coach, Chris Thorpe, he's been brilliant. From 2 weeks that we got sent home, we were touching base. He was having using Strava programs, sending us sessions, and we touch base on probably twice, three times a week from what we're doing. Once things escalated, and obviously with everything that's going on outside, safety is the most important. We knew we weren't going to be back training for a long while, so we shut down for a week, and then we got back on it. Another 2 weeks of tough training, which is very hard individually. It's mentally and physically you're doing it. You're tuning in with each other, but it's not the same as being at the training ground on a daily basis. So we've just literally had 2 weeks off, but we start again. Work on Monday with a view to see what happens in 2 to 3 weeks, whether we can get back as a group or smaller groups to back training.
Now, Reid, you're trying to combine a multitude of things: homeschooling with Oscar, looking after the 23s, keeping yourself fit, and replanning a wedding that's gone for a Burton since the lockdown. So you've got it all going on.
Yeah, I have. I think she thinks that I started this pandemic. Seriously, lads, I think she thinks that she says you do want to get out of marrying me. It got cancelled. It was supposed to be on the 3rd of June, and it got cancelled. And the guy came back with 28th of August last week, and then we just looked at it and thought there's no way it's going to happen. And it's not really safe, and it's not fair. We were going to get married in a beach, so it's not fair to ask people to travel over there anyway. And I don't think things will be kind of moving freely by then anyway. So we decided to put it back to next. So she has to wait another year to become Mrs. Reid.
JJ, we're working together still on Fridays, but every time I try and speak to you, you either say, I'll get back to you in an hour or so because I'm teaching, or I'm outside designing a water feature for the house. You've become a new man in the last 3 weeks.
Well, what I'd say is, me and Reedy, we know what retiring is actually like. And in a weird way, this for me, it's almost like the day I finished my career. It was like, I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to do. Nobody was ringing the phone to say, oh, can you come and do this? Can you come and do that? It was like, right, what do I do with my life now? And a lot of it was spent in the house, having 4 showers a day, doing nothing, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So this isolation just feels like nothing new to me. And what I did during that time when I first retired is I started to create kind of routines in my life, go to the gym, pick the kids up from school, start cooking. So yeah, as you well know, my kind of new thing that I'm into is DIY. Yes, I've started doing a few garden projects, keeping myself busy in the garden, along with the homeschooling as well. And keeping myself nice, trim and fit as I've always been, Dawson. You know what I mean?
Hey.
looking good. I right though. I must admit there, Jay. It's like, look, as players, we've all been, and you're away for long periods, hotels and whatever, and you have a day off, and you think the last thing you want to do is anything around the house. I actually did a bit of pointing. Do you know what? It actually went all right. I'm not saying I'm going to go into this industry and like to do it for everyone else, but little things, painting troughs and fences that you don't have time to do. It's been a great opportunity to learn little different things.
Lads, I'll be honest with you. I went to see a Forest game this season. Dawson was playing, and he did more pointing than running that day too.
All right, Fletch, here we go. It's started.
Now, what was it like when you three came through together? Because the careers, you've always been close. You've always been a really close group. Played together, socialised together, moved clubs and ended up at the same one together. You've got a real bond, haven't you? Paul Hart was the guy that was behind it all at the start, but you've got a real bond. Tell us what it was like when you were young.
I think we all knew that we were kind of onto something special in and around the time. You know, I remember the opening of the academy, and we played against Ajax, and I remember there was some games in around that time, and we looked around at the group and realised that it was a special group, that there was some brilliant players coming through, and Prutz. So we. So on to do great, hasn't he? He's brilliant at the presenting. He is. No, but I think we knew that there was a special group coming through, and the way that turned out, I think JJ left pretty quickly. To be fair, he didn't really kind of stay for the playoffs and that. But if we're back to the U team, I think we knew a special group of players coming through. It was great though. It was brilliant, and the kind of the feeling that Paul Hart kind of helped create around there. He was very, very tough. He was hard. It was a great feeling around the place. You loved going in every day. The crack between the lads was brilliant, and the intensity in training was class. And it was a really, really good time. It was a happy time. You know, you look back on it now, and I suppose things move really, really quickly in football. But you look back on it now, and you think, you know what, they're times.
Yeah, great. They obviously, I was a year below Jay, and I think 2 years below you, Reid. So you two were always like myself coming in as a 16-year-old. You've been in there full time training, obviously a year and 2 years longer, and always sort of looked up to where you wanted to be. But in my first year, just from training every day with JJ, Reid. Look, we had Gaz Williams. We had some talent. Kashi, like the players go on fight, like you just. Like you said there about Harty, the players he developed and the standards and expectation on a daily basis was just incredible. It was out of this. And it's being good step for my career. It was hard.
I always felt with Harty that he just had such a good way of getting things across to you really, really simply. So you understood exactly what he wanted from you. So every time you were on the training pitch, you knew exactly what. And then when you're going into a game, you know exactly what you wanted. And it's something that, you know, when you go into the coaching, find that way, is that way to get it really simply so young players understand exactly what he means. And Harty had a great way of doing that. And I think that's why we all kind of learned so much from him. I'll tell you also was big and was very, very good. Steve Wigley was in for a couple of years back. Moved up to work with the first team, and I thought Wiggs was brilliant.
For me, it kind of goes, you know, because as Reid said, I left a lot sooner than I actually wanted to leave. But my memories kind of start way before all that, because Reid, me and you were the same year, aren't we? But you came over a year early, didn't you?
Yeah, we're the same age, aren't we? But came in a year later because I started a year earlier because I came over from Ireland. I think my parents couldn't be bothered with me. Get yourself over there a year early. So I was actually in the same year as Kevin, Dawson's brother.
Oh, okay, so you're a year above. All right. Yeah. That was your first when you came over, I remember, yeah. So one of my first experiences with Reid was, I think we had a tournament over, it might have been Kiel, we had this tournament. And for whatever reason, they stuck me with Reid as my roommate. And I was brand new. Do you know what I mean? Literally, I was still in school, really shy. And I go into this trip thinking, right, football, big game, traveling with like older lads and all that. And Reid's just like the most relaxed guy you've ever come across in your life. Wants to talk to me about birds, trying to sneak out of the place. I'm just like, what is going on here? So it gave me like an early insight it kind of woke me up a little bit. I needed to grow up quick, if you know what I mean. And then when I kind of got into the youth team, I remember that summer they gave us this sheet of paper to go and do loads of running. And I remember speaking to one of the other lads who was like already there. Matty was already in the, Matthew Turner was already in the group above me. And he told me how hard he was mad on fitness. So kind of that summer, on this piece of paper, I'm telling you now, I reckon I did it about 3 times. I just constantly was running. And I turned up like a bit of a machine. And I think from that kind of minute on, it kind of got me in Harty's good books. And it was always a good place to be for me.
It's funny you mentioned that there about you being shy, because I remember when you came in, I remember that trip, and you were really quiet and really like kind of stand up. So I tell you what, it didn't last very long.
Hey, tell you what, you know, when you're signing a new contract every 3 months, it don't half make you confident.
Yeah.
What was he like as a taskmaster, Paul? Because he was old school, wasn't he, to a large extent? I mean, old school through and through. He wanted to play very modern football. His phrase always was, put the ball at risk. That was what he said to you. But as a father figure and as a mentor and a coach, you had to earn the respect. He didn't give anything easily, did he, Paul?
Paul still, when we seen him early on in the season at Stoke, he was still like, wow, still that father figure that you sort of think, wow, this is Artie. He signed me at 14. Look, I'll so much for my whole career, how he stood me in good stead to go on and what I've done. His discipline, his demands from a daily basis, even just going and seeing him now, really, you must see how times have changed as a coach. Young players will come up, they've got no fear, they just come and expect. Whereas with Harty, it was like you'd knock on his door and one of the bees used to go, won't go in and see him today. He's in one of those bees. But it was like, I want to go home tomorrow. He went, probably wait till see if we win or not. And you're like, that's how he was. But he earned that respect. And look, what he did at Leeds with players he brought through and at Forest. All we can do as players speak highly of him. As hard as he was, what he gave and the opportunity he gave us, he got us on the coaching pitch. And like they got the ball out of the back. People care me for kicking the ball in Rose Head on many occasions, but look, he always encouraged me to get the ball out, hit that diag to Reid. Sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not, and he used to hammer me when I used to kick it out, play, miss a header. But that's because he just had expectations of players and knew what players could do.
Yeah, no, he did, and you say that about he was a tough taskmaster, and I in my second year, I felt like I was having just a little bit of a time, and it would have been JJ's. And I started to get a little bit moody now, and I know it's not like me. I'm not moody at all. So I ended up arguing with him quite a bit. You know, me and Harky'd argue, and then I'd answer him back, and he'd just go like that and point to the minibus, and I'd have to trudge it off because we used to get at the stadium.
Oh. 1 second. Sorry.
And just point to the minibus, and I'd have to go over and sit in the minibus. And then Bezo and Bezo come over and be like, right, you said you're going to stop it now. You can go back on and train for a little.
I can honestly say, like, I'm probably speaking on behalf of us all. I know me personally, I would not have been a professional footballer if it wasn't for Paul Hart. It's as simple as that. I was going through a period of when I was like 13, 14, where I was done with football. I was finished with it. I had to go into school with like 2-3 bags. Then I'd finish school. I used to walk from school around to the city ground. I'd wait in the office with Nick Marshall and a few of the others. And then one of the coaches would pick me up, take me down to Bingham, where the training facility was at that time. I'd train there. I'd get in at like 10 o'clock at night, school the next day. And this was every Tuesday, Thursday. I was on this loop, and I was just like, I was done with it. And Harty he came in out of nowhere, because I think at the time Mick Rayner was the head of development before, and Harty came in, took over, and he said, "Listen, just give me a few months with you," and it changed my life completely. Literally, it was like, honestly, I couldn't tell you. I went from hating football because of the pressures like that Mick would put on me or whatever, to absolutely loving football. Just because of what Harty brought to the table in terms of the fitness, the type of football. He pushed me on and tested me a lot. It was,
what he was able to do fantastically well, and the reason he'd have done that, JJ, is because he'll have seen something in you that you probably didn't even feel in yourself. Yeah. And it was a little same with me. At times, I'd have been really hard. People probably would have kind of just, listen, I've had enough. But he's seen some people, and he had a track record of doing this, because the players that he brought through, Ian Hart, Steve McPhail, Hardy Q, all these fantastic players, and and I speak to them now, and he was exactly the same. That was how he was. He had this knack, and along with the people that were surrounding him. So Charlie McParland and Nick Marshall to an extent.
Was around at one point, wasn't he, as well?
Embo and Chris Fairclough. He surrounded people who were very, very able to spot. He was able to spot things in players and see things in players not very many people seen. So players that most people would have given up on, he would not give up on them, and he played with them.
It's a great point. You say that. Sorry, Fletch. Jay, you say there. Jay, you say there the sacrifices you give it.
1 minute, Fletch. 1 minute. Just hang on 1 minute, lads, please. Just 1 minute. Hey!
It's the garden centre ringing in. They want to bring some stuff for the water feet.
Yeah, we're asking if he can do it.
Come on,
Oh,
God.
He'll be back in a minute.
Honestly, sorry.
Was that the garden centre fella? Just wanted to bring some more stuff.
No, definitely not. I just had to run over to the East Wing to tell the missus. I'm on the missus stuff, and her grandma keeps ringing, so it's like
pick up doors from what you were saying.
Yeah, it was funny.
Oh my God.
You go there, Jay, about your sacrifices, and every player, every young lad will go through that. I was the same on a Friday night. I'd get the train down from Darlington, 3 hours, train on Saturday morning, play on a Sunday. And it's hard. It is really tough. That's a different side. Like you say there, you owe that to Paul Hart, because he was approachable. As hard as he was, he always wanted to help. And really, great point. He gives stick to people that he believed could deal with it and improve. And he was only doing it the best for you to go on and have the careers that, like you say there, Jonathan Woodgate always tells a story about head in the back of someone's head and knocking himself out. He had them things, but he was a great guy, and we all, like you say, we all appreciate what he.
You know what? Just before you move on, whatever, Fletcher, we've all probably got a couple of stories. But what kind of used to kind of sum him up to me was the discipline that he had within the group of players was never seen again in my career, ever again. And I mean, literally, in terms of walking through a door. Like, for example, like when I started signing some decent contracts and I had a few quid, we all used to go shopping, and Prada was the thing then. Anyway, I used to buy these Prada hats, right? And then, we'd all say that come match day, we'd played in the day and we'd done watch the first team. So we'd be stood in the corridor and I'd have my Prada hat on. As soon as Harty come walking through the door, I'd quickly turn around, with red stripe, everyone stands up straight. He knew exactly what I was doing, but he used to kind of let me off a little bit, right? And then there's two more. On one other occasion, I've left training to go home, right? I'm off to go and catch the bus. I'm on the bus, I get a phone call, might have been Wiggs. JJ, the gaffer, wants to see you. I'm like, what's going on here? So I've come back. Anyway, I knock on his door. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? He went, Craig Westcar came in with his ear pierced yesterday. That's your fault. I was like, I said, what? He said, he's seen you wearing your earring somewhere and he thinks it's okay to come into training wearing an earring now. So that's your fault. So you're dealing with whatever punishment comes on his behalf. I used to just be like, I mean, that's how he used to treat me. And then the last one was, he used to do these five-a-sides, Fletch, right? And the lads will know about this. And Andy Beasley, the goalkeeping coach, he used to come into the, where the refs get changed down at the City Ground, right down on the bottom on the left. And we'd all be sat in there. And it would be, the coaches would get involved with the 5 sides, and they used to get quite lively, but there'd be a coach's team. And he'd always pick a player to be on his team. And he'd come in, and Beasley used to look at me and be like, yeah, I think, no, Beasley, don't put me on the team.
He was always like that, though, Jay.
Oh.
But he used to make you feel that bit like he could have you. When he loved you, well, I'll go to one story at Leeds. It was my first year, and I think I think it was actually Niall Hudson actually done his ACL or something. Tomo went to right back. I came into centre half and was playing 19s in my first season. We went to Leeds away, which obviously was only 45 minutes from mum and dad. So we've got there, we've won the game, and he's actually given me 3 days off. That never, ever, ever happened. And he did little things to players that obviously at the time you thought he liked, and he just says, look, to my mum and dad, take him on, bring him back whenever you can get him down. Those little things, when he liked you as hard as he was and as disciplined, he made you feel $1 million when you got.
No, you say that, Dawson. He definitely had that humility and that, and there is a softer side to him. You know, I had a daughter very, very young. I was 17 when my daughter was born, and I didn't tell anybody at the club for probably about 6 months. But my food was difficult, and Harky knew something was wrong. Got wind, and he called me in, and he was so disappointed that I hadn't told him, because he felt that he was like, can't trust me to tell me, and he was really, really disappointed with me. I remember it hurt me that, thinking, I wish I had told him. And so good to me, you know, he give me, 2 or 3 days off, really home, see your daughter, because he was back in Ireland, go home and see your daughter, how is everything, is that and in some ways that helped kind of strengthen the relationship that I kind of had with him. So, there was this area inside to him, but there's a soft kind of caring side to him as well. And when you just talk about our academy and the Forest Academy, and now that I'm kind of walking back in, well, I'm really, really proud of the academy. Really, really that we grew. And even before the players that it's produced, and during that period, the players produced, and the players that are in the first team now playing, and I feel like kind of part of trying to help the next generation of that, because I love when I go in there, when I go in the day and I kind of see the Nigel Doughty Academy, and you think, we've travelled this pathway, and it's great to see. And Fletcher, your lads in the academy now, and my lad is as well. It's a real kind of, it's like that pathway, follow.
Yeah.
So good to get all the way along, and to be a part of it is I think it's something really, really special.
On the subject of your stories, the one that I thought you might tell that you didn't, it's always my favourite, and share it with everybody, Jay, is the story about the bank book and the car when you want to buy the car. I mean, in the modern game, this just wouldn't happen now, would it? Tell everybody that one.
I'm sure it's the same for the lads, but with Harty, he used to basically make us go into his office once a month, and you used to have to show him your savings that you basically got together for that month. You wouldn't overspend it. And don't get me wrong, there were months where you definitely overspent, and you put the door thinking, what am I going to do here? Like, I've only saved about a tenner or whatever. But then, when I wanted to go and buy my first car, it was knock on the door, because the rumours were, if you just went and bought a car, I think Gaz Williams went and got himself an MG convertible.
Yeah.
And wow. Went mad, made him park it somewhere else. Yeah. He bought himself a Renault Megane convertible. So it was right, the way to do it is ask him. So I went and knocked on his door, and I was like, Gaffer, can I buy a car? And he's like, what do you want to buy? I said, I want a Peugeot 206, please. He went, all right, good choice. He went, but what litre are you thinking of getting? And I was like, I was thinking about getting a 1.4, 1.6. He went, get a 1.2. And I was like, all right, deal. The deal. And that was it. But that goes to the kind of trust, I think, that Reid is talking about. Because I went to him and spoke to him about it and stuff, it was like, right, yeah, of course. Whereas a lot of the lads used to make them park it somewhere else. He wouldn't let them come in the training ground if they went and bought flash cars.
And the black boots thing. Yeah. And that's still a thing now for.
It is.
It is. Oh, that's good.
The 23s can wear whatever boots they want, but the under 18s and all the way down through the they have to wear black boots, and hardly brought that. I mean, can you imagine if you turned up on the training ground and you had a pair of white boots in the youth team, or even, you know, used to make us wear shin pads in training. I tackled and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm looking around, I'm going, oh, you know, just come over from Ireland, like, you know what I mean? He's like, right, get your studs on. And I'm like, yeah, but the ground's rock hard. It's middle of pre-season. Yeah, wear your studs and put pads on as well. What's going on? And you know what? Physically, he was really imposing as well, because he's a big guy, you know what I mean? You're kind of looking at that and you go, yes, no problem, I'll do it.
I think it's really good that though, Reid, like you say there about the boots. Even when we left, so I was in the first team, we all had to wear Umbro Speciale, and then I left, and I think I went to Puma even when we went down to Spurs, and then I was still in black boots, and then I went to white boots, and that first thing I was thinking, imagine what Artie would say. He'd be hammering me.
10 years for England. Yeah, I was still money to what I'm going to take.
I was not the opposite, but I couldn't wait to get out of those black boots, man. Like I had like Nike offering me a deal, Fletch, right, for years, like good 2-3 years before I was even allowed. Artie would not let me have this Nike deal. So I used to go into my England trials or whatever, and all the flash lads from down here in London wearing all like their R9 Ronaldo boots. And at this point, we wasn't even wearing Speciales. Do you remember the other Umbros we got with the blue? Oh my God, they were horrendous, Fletch, right? And I've turned up in these, and I'm like, look at the state of me wearing. You know what I mean? How am I supposed to perform in these? But it was the respect again. And you know, like, just to kind of back that up, can you imagine? So like being like at Clifton when I was a young lad as a centre forward, scoring goals for City boys. Centre forward, went to Forest. I played centre forward, played centre midfield. I was always technical. That was my game: technique, fitness, up and down, whatever. I come and go to Forest at 15 years of age, and the first thing he says to me is, "You're going to play centre half." And I'm like, "Are you having a laugh?" He went, "You need to win more headers, you need to win more tackles, and you need to be more aggressive. So you're going to go and play centre half for a year." So he put me as centre half again. Something that has completely changed my career. It gave me a completely different view of the game and how it should be played. It was mental, but that's just how clever he was. Nobody would ever put me at centre half. I was like a stick, Fletch. I was like a twig.
I always remember Nikki, the nutritionist, trying to get you to put on weight, and she just could not get you to.
She used to say to me, Jermaine, when you've eaten your meal, go to McDonald's and have a McDonald's milkshake every single day.
Really?
Every day, because she says you need calories. I can't get enough calories in you. I was like a stick. And he goes, go and play centre half against some of the biggest, mate. When I made an appearance in the resis, right, in the reserves, my first appearance in the resis was against Spurs. The two centre forwards on the day, Peter Crouch, Les Ferdinand.
All the best.
But they didn't care. They came out there and went, we believe in you. We know you can do it. You'll figure it out. And that is just him. Just summed him up. So, like, genius.
As the boys were saying there about the academy now, my boys you mentioned is in there now. It's still the black boots. It's still kit inspection. Whenever you see a Forest, from the under-9s upwards, they're all perfectly turned out. They've all got that discipline of making sure they adhere to what the codes are. And I didn't realise that I'd been around since Paul's day. But it's great because all the kids are the same then down there. You don't get... you get situations where people are different and they want different things, and all of a sudden it starts all that potential issue. It just puts everybody on a level playing field. Everybody has to buy from the same catalogue with the black boots and tuck the shirts in. It takes the individuality out in that regard. All has to be on the field from the boys. Just on the three of you, as a commentator who was fortunate enough to be covering Forest when you guys all came into the team, I've kind of got an individual memory of the three of you, and I'd love you to talk about it. Michael, yours would be, and we'll kind of do this in order, that first game of the season against Sheffield United when you all played. It was the first time we saw the team together. And I remember Paul saying to me in the build-up to that match that week when we sat down on the Friday, wait till you see them. They'll put the ball at risk. They'll get stuck in. They'll be way better than you all think they are. Because everybody's going, well, you can't win with a team of kids. What's going to happen? We knew you were all good. But when we saw you on that day, it took about 15 minutes for everybody to settle down. And then the confidence oozed through you as a group. And you never really lost it all season. It was remarkable to see.
Yeah, it was incredible. You say there that the year we got to the playoffs, and unfortunately we start was heartbreaking from obviously a personal point of view. Having first full season, having a great season, couldn't ask for any more. Playing with no fear, no one knew you, and we all just expressed ourselves like we were playing at Wilford Lane on the arena. It was called. We passed the ball. He always kept the ball out. Wardy in goal. We had some good senior players as well as the good young talent that had come through together as young lads. So you go in and play with your mates. Now I've been doing a few of these since we've been off, and I always say to young lads, go and express yourself. Your first 2 or 3 seasons are the easiest because you've got no real expectation, no one really knows you, and then all of a sudden, going down the line, people are talking about how good you are, and then you have to deal with them pressures of turning up every week and performing. But that whole season, the way we played with everyone, we just took everyone by a storm, and we got our recognition that we deserved.
Well,
I was going to say that was a big disappointment for me, really personally, Fletch, because, to have come through with the lads and, to have not been able to kind of even see through a season with the team it's one of the things I look back on with a lot of regret. Hey, not for me, mate. That was for the club. Like, what do you want to say? Really, they needed to do, not me. How did they build that training complex?
Do you mean the Jermaine Jenas Academy that Reid was talking about? Yeah.
No, the thing about it is, like Dawson says there, and what you just said, and all us coming together. We played together for 3 or 4 years, so I knew how good Dawson was. Yeah. I knew how good Gareth Williams was. I knew how good John Thompson was. All these players, Cashy, all the lads that come through and kind of and played together, we knew how good we were. So it became easy for us to be able to trust each other so much. And then when we went into the first team setting, then we ended up with great pros and great players like Ricky Shimmick, Jack Lester, Marlon contributed quite a bit as well. No. Brennan, Louis Jean.
Louis Jean, great lads.
Right, and you just got the sense then that there was an initial bit of kind of, I suppose everybody was kind of skeptic of each other. It was a little bit like, what's this going to be like? You've got a little bit of the young players, you've got a little bit of the old players there coming in to take their place. And then slowly then it kind of started to gel. And they realised then that we were kind of onto something a little bit special, and so did we. And we all just mucked together. So, I mean, socially, that was one of the best seasons of my career. And when I say socially, I don't mean just going out drinking. I mean, we would get in trouble. You would want to get in and see the lads. You would want to get into the changing room and have a bit of laugh with the lads before you went out training. And I remember thinking at the time, oh, this is what football's like. It's going to be like this for the for the rest of the career, and it's not. Which made me realise that it's special. I went into some changing rooms and they were toxic. People come in a minute before to come in, and they leave as soon as, and it wasn't nice, so it makes you realise how special it was back then.
Yeah, that's down to Harty as well, isn't it? Really, with the senior lads, and probably I'm in that boat now. With you guys have been there, you sort of become close to the manager. I wasn't that, like, as in Ricky, Wardy, Jimmy, Matty. Jimmy and them great lads. They were probably 26, 27, and we were 18, 19. Great lads, and they helped me massively set into playing in a first team environment, because I was young, skinny, naive at the time going into a first team environment. But you soon pick up, and them guys you still speak about. Wardy behind us, great group, and you said there, Reedy, those senior pros in on time, in early, leading by example, because you say that you've come across players like a minute before and maybe don't go with a manager and things like that. We did have a great group.
Yeah, but there was some that Harty needed to shift on as well. There was some that to what we were trying to do and didn't want to fit into what we were trying to do, and that doesn't necessarily mean they were bad players, but just didn't fit into the ethos what Harty was trying to create. So we had to move them on, and he was very, very clever as well in keeping the ones that we needed to keep in, like what we said, Ricky. Very, very important to that whole group, and he was probably one of the biggest of everybody when he left.
I think the one for you, Jay, would have been that goal against Bradford, where I commentated that night. I think I got either Lloydie or Gary Birtles alongside me. And we described it as like Ricky Villa in the cup final. It was the body swerve, and it was the way you did it. I think at the time we were still calling you Jermaine Jenas as well, not Jenas. So apologies for that for posterity's case. But that was kind of a defining thing where all of a sudden we thought, wow, you know, this is special, because it was a what a way to really announce yourself. You'd been in the team, but that was almost like that first signature moment.
Yeah, it was weirdly enough, this story involves Hearty again. The game was a bit drab, really. I remember it being a night game, not many opportunities, not much happening. I think it was 0-0 at the time. And there was a break in play, and I remember running over to Hearty. He called me over, basically. I went to get a drink, he called me over. And he was just talking to me about positions and this, that, and the other. He went, "Oh, just come on, just do something special for me. Just do something." And I was just, I don't know what, it just loosened me off, just gave me a bit of freedom. I was a bit like, "Oh, I'll just try something. I'll try a shot. I'll try something." And when obviously you kind of got past one, and it was like, oh, the little tiny gaps sometimes open up. Reid, you'll know more about this than Dawson, so I'll just talk to Reid. But when you're going by people, like little gaps appear, and you think, "Oh, a minute," and it was just perfect how it kept going. And what I loved about it most is when I've scored, when we were all in the youth team, we all used to sit in the same place. So where the A block is, the complete opposite end, down the other end to the A block on that same side, is where all the youth teams used to sit with the families and all that. And that's where I got to celebrate. It was like, you know, big moments. I thought, right, all the lads are up there, I'm going to go and celebrate with them. Brilliant.
Fletcher, I thought you were going to one about JJ's little dink. Was that in a League Cup, Jay? When
Penalty shootout.
I remember
Yes,
that.
yes.
This is what the academy lads had. Whenever they saw one of your teammates go and play in the first team, I remember watching Reid, I remember watching Foy, Tomo, all these lads that are probably a year, 2 years older than me. You'd watch them on a Saturday afternoon, you'd watch them and think, look, if you keep training, you will get an opportunity with Paul. There's a goal at this football club to get in that first team where everyone wants to be. And everyone had it. Everyone had wished each other. I remember Wesley going through, Craig Westcast against Burnley, wanting him to score. All the young lads are up, wanting each other to do well because there was an opportunity and go and be successful. And everyone was in it together. And like I say, there was an awful lot of academy players went on to play in that first team and then went on to still make a career out the game, which is credit to them and credit to the academy staff.
I remember that night, JJ. I remember that night against Bradford because I think they hadn't long been relegated from the Premier League. I think that was their fourth.
It was, yeah.
I remember Benito Carboni played that night. And
McCall, I think, in midfield as well.
He was a good player. He was a good player. A lot of ability. And I remember being worried about him, you know, oh, what's Carboni going to do? And then JJ pops up and does that. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I remember that.
I think my memory's right on this one, Reedy. David Platt gave you your debut, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
And it was Huddersfield, wasn't it?
No, my debut was Sheffield United at home.
Right, but there was a real buzz behind the scenes. I'm not sure whether you knew that, but we kind of got told that you were going to make your debut. And then behind the scenes, there was a real buzz because you got a goal in you. So there was this lad going to come into the team that we thought was going to score a lot of goals. And there was a real buzz behind the scenes before. It was obviously kept away from you because you were concentrating on the debut. But there was a real buzz amongst what we were doing behind the scenes about you actually playing. So there's a real sense of excitement about that night from our standpoint.
Yeah, well, I was playing centre forward at the time. And to be fair, I was scoring loads of goals, youth team, reserve team also. So David Platt did want to give me a chance. On the bench on the Saturday, we played Tranmere at home and we beat Tranmere 3-0. I was on the bench and it was 3-0 with about 20 minutes left. And I remember Alan Rodgers was sat on the bench next to me and he was looking at me going, Jesus, really, why isn't he going to put you on? Like, we're 3-0 up 20 minutes against Tranmere. Like, you know what I mean? He says, he's not going to put you on. So I was thinking to myself, oh, I think he should put me on here as a token gesture. He put me on the bench as a token gesture. So that was on the Saturday. And then the Monday morning, then we get in and we're walking out on train and he pulls me and he says, oh, really, you're starting tomorrow night. We're playing Sheffield United tomorrow night. And I was like, what? I didn't see that coming. I really didn't see it coming, you know. And I remember played up front with Jack. Me and Jack Lester played up front. And I remember Jack kind of pulled me and saying, listen, just let's play as close as we can together. And Jack really good, try and build up a little bit of a partnership. And we actually kind of played really well together in the second half then. Surprisingly enough, Prutz played the true ball. Must have been the only...
You're actually a good
kicked it out for a goal. It's a really good through ball. So I remember taking the touch at the outside, my foot and going one-on-one with the keeper and slotting in the corner. But special feeling, like, you know, really special feeling at the Trent End, a night game. I used to always get a real buzz in the games because I lived in town, and when we get them night games and we come in like kind of a couple of hours before and it was getting dark and you drive over Trent Bridge and you right to the stadium lit up and you see the big forest crest on the side of the Trent, and that gives me goosebumps now when I think about it. You know what I mean? It was such a special thing. I used to love them night games. Be able to do that on your deck. It was brilliant.
Fletch, do you remember my debut? Wolves, right? FA Cup.
Yes.
So somebody's gone flying down the left wing, right? I've made a run about 60 yards from absolutely nowhere to get myself in the box, right? All he's got to do, just roll run across the floor to me for a tap-in on my debut. He decided to shoot as hard as he possibly could across the box, bobbling and bouncing like you've never seen before in your life. I've got to try and get something on it. I looked at Reid. I said, Reid, I've been playing with you for years. You've never crossed the ball like that in your life. This is your play. Hit the ball, comes out.
I remember that. And I don't know what went through your head there, pal. Composure in the final tour. I don't know what happened. Sorry, boys.
What am I supposed to? It's one of those ones that bad when it comes across. You kind of go like that, thinking, "Please just go in." Just got something on it, hit the ball, and went out. I was like,
"Oh no!" I was going to say, Jay, what happened there? That's not like Reid, because he used to score some worldies, didn't he? Some of the goals Reid scored, Fletch, were just like the one for me was West Ham.
West Ham. Yeah, I remember him running past Rob Lee Dawson on the way down. And Rob Lee must have been about 35 at the time, and really just went past him like he was just stopped.
Well. David James got great. I remember that game, and I remember getting called in that.
In our youth team, Fletch, right? There was only 3 players in my mind that I looked at day in, day out, or maybe not day in, day out, but a lot of days, especially game days on a Saturday when we had the big games against Leeds. Leeds was like the biggest game for Hearty, and he made sure you knew it was the big game. Anytime these games, there's only 3 players I always looked at every day and was like, these guys are too good. They're too good. Reid was the best I'd seen in that level at that time for me. Gareth Williams was unreal as a centre midfield player. Technically, I couldn't believe that he didn't manage to do more in terms of like a Premier League career, technically. And Kashi was a joke, I thought. Off that right-hand side, Brian Cash used to score these goals like when you talk about Ricky Villa and all these, like his hips would be twisting, he'd score left foot, right foot. It was just unbelievably group of talented players. But, you know, obviously Reid's talent far outweighed anything else. But it really surprised me that Gaz and Cash didn't have that next bit to kick on.
Yeah. It's interesting how it works out, and I kind of see it a lot more now. And, you know, the players that you think, there's some players that you look at and you think, definitely going to be a footballer, and something happens that doesn't quite happen, doesn't quite work out for the reason it may be. And others that you look at and you think to yourself, he's not going to be a footballer, and you kind of, they call them the late developers, you know, and then all of a sudden from that kind of 14 to 17 or 18-year-old, then they just come through like a rocket. Probably the best example of that, if you're talking about Forest first team now, would be Matty Cash. The club from an academy came in, and you're thinking, yeah, you know, Cashy's got something. He's got that desire. He's got that. He's just got something about him, but couldn't quite tell what it was. And then all of a sudden, then you hit that little bit of a spot, and you go through the roof. And that's what he's done now. And that's the thing about player development. It's so difficult to tell. And it's, you know, going back to Harty, it's one of the reasons why Harty was so good, because he could judge it better than most.
You must see that now, Reid. Obviously, being a coach. I mean, look, we're speaking about our careers here. We were all playing in the first team at 18. Now 17. I play 17. Sorry, Jay. Players are developing later. Like you speak there, Cashy, 21, 22. They're now in the levels. And Tom Carroll was one for me at Spurs. 17, 18. He wasn't even playing in a youth team, and then he went on to play first team football. So players are developing late, but then the group that we had, I was probably a late developer as much as I played at 18. I'm still skinny, and I look back and think 18-year-olds now as a centre half playing, and I look at Ben White at Leeds, who I'm a big fan of. I thought he was like 18, 19. I think he's 21, 22 now. So everyone's talking about how young he is, but it's his first real full season in the Championship, and players are developing a lot.
But it's a trend that's happening in modern football at the moment. It was the average was kind of 18, maybe 19, and you're thinking to yourself, if you don't get when we were playing and when we started, if you don't get your debut by 19, you kind of think to yourself, I'm not too sure this is going to happen for me. Now it's probably the average age is kind of 21, and then 22. You're kind of thinking, and then you're thinking, well, is this going to, So it is a trend in football. Players aren't getting into first teams as early. I think that it's because first team managers' shelf lives are not as long. So they probably feel that they don't have the time to bring players in and work with them for a 6 or an 8 month period. They want players that are ready to go bang, because they might think, well, I don't have to develop that player because I probably won't be in the job in 18 months. And I think that that's part of the problem why players are getting in a little bit later, because if you give them the opportunity, they can.
I want to finish on this because I think we're running out of time, because we've got a limited period of time that we can do this within a Zoom meeting. We could go on all day. Is the big regret for the three of you and that group as well that you couldn't stay together longer? Because when you think that you all ended up at one of the biggest clubs in the country, Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League, and all went on to play international football, I know that Forest supporters look back on that time and that group of players that came through the academy and wonder what might have been had the club not been so desperate at that time for revenue. So they had to basically sell all of you to keep the club going, which I suppose in that way you made an even bigger impact on Nottingham Forest as a club as you might have done had you stayed there, because to all intents and purposes those transfer fees saved it as it is today and allowed it to flourish to where it is now. But when you look back, do you think if we just could have had a couple of years, we could have got into the Premier League, established the club in the Premier League, and it might then just really have kicked on from there?
I think that's the point there, Fletch. Do you know what I mean? I personally think it was a mistake myself. Do you know, I'll be honest with you, with my transfer, it was no option at all. The lads had a day off. I got a phone call saying, Jay, you got to come into the office. Hartley sat me down. He went, Jay, we've had a 3 million bid from Man United. We've had 5 million from Leeds. We've had 5 million from Newcastle. And the car from Newcastle is going to be here in an hour. It takes 3 hours to get from Newcastle. They've already agreed it. And I was like, I was up in the air. I had a flat across the Trent. I was happy. It was just, and yeah, okay, they got 5 million for me at the time, which was massive. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Reid and Dawson, 9 million in the bank. Wallet, brilliant. But then, hang on a minute. If they kept us together, in my eyes, we would have 100% got Forest into the Premier League with what we would have been able to add to it as well. And the size of the club that Forest is, once it's in the Premier League and the revenue that it would generate, you don't have a Premier League football club. So I think there was a mistake. And for me personally, it was a massive regret, because I think it gives you that extra bit. I look at people like Steven Gerrard at Liverpool, who were able to stay at their home, their clubs that are in their heart. It makes a difference, I think, to a player. And
Jay, I totally agree.
People had that, and it was kind of taken away from me, really, anyway.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there on that, about the young players coming through and how much a club means to you if you come through and represent that club. I'm not saying that it means more to everybody, but more of a feeling there. I kind of see it from both points, but I know exactly what you're saying, JJ, and I agree with you to a certain point. I'm probably a little bit more aware now of the struggle Nigel Doughty had in one club, and it was difficult. There was a lot out the door. He was putting out from things that had gone on before. A degree of it. So in theory, yeah, it was great. I always think back, and I know we've spoken about it briefly, but I always think back to the Sheffield United game, the playoff game, and I look at that team that we had, okay, and it was so disappointing. Then I look at that squad, okay, and if we had kept that together, we had signed Darren Huckabee permanently, we signed Steve McPhail on loan the next season, and it was absolutely brilliant. And then maybe, kept Jim Brennan kept Jack Lester, held on to the players, kept that squad together, added one or two. I'm convinced, 1,000,000% convinced that we won the league the next.
I agree with Reid
I
there.
was in that night, you know.
You what?
I
remember you being in. I remember, yeah. I was
in the stand when you played against Sheffield United. I was at Newcastle at the time, and it was a midweek game. So I came down. I was sat with the fans in the stand, and then came down afterwards and got on the coach for you lot on the way home. Remember?
I completely agree with Reid there. What he said about, we talk about you selling the young talent, but for me the big one was losing Jim Brennan to Norwich, Ricky. I can't remember if Jack left. I think a few big senior players that the younger lads looked up to. They leave the dressing room, and then you think, wow. Once one starts turning over, we'd lost JJ. Yeah. JJ, we went on to then do well. And like you said,
and David Johnson got badly injured too, Michael, didn't he? David Johnson was injured. Yeah,
broke his leg, and the next year, and then Paul got the sack, and things just started changing the positive vibes that were around the club when you start selling a few, which happens at every club. I look at West Ham with the Michael Carricks, Joe Coles, Rios, Glenn Johnson. Those kind of players sell, which owners at the end of the day, you've got to see their side. But I agree with Reid, 1,000,000%. If we'd have kept Ricky, Jimmy, signed Hooks, those kind of players, they were the big senior players in our dressing room that led, and we just carried on and kept going with them. We would have definitely been in the Premier League. Look, 21 years since we've been in the Premier League, we've got a great opportunity with the squad of players we've got now. Look, I'm one of those older players that obviously started the season, not playing as much now, but just trying to help them. And you sort of have a senior head. I had Des when I was playing as well, and it makes a difference just to have that older head in there that can help when you go through difficult times, because it's a lot easier when you get older, lads. You will agree with me, playing football with less pressure and lads that are going there with everything on the shoulders, it can be hard at times, because you've got to be mentally strong. And this is what we go down with players. You have to be physically good, but mentally, to deal with the criticism from a lot of people now, social media, that I speak to the lads about. So it's all to be collectively a footballer. It takes a lot.
Fellas, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been fantastic. I know that everybody will have sat and enjoyed this evening with Michael, Dawson, Jermaine, Jenas, Andy, Reid. Thank you, fellas, for your time. Enjoy lockdown. Stay safe. Michael, make sure you come back in tip-top condition, because we need this big push to get over the finish line and back into the Premier League. Reedy, good luck with rearranging the wedding. And JJ, let's hope that water feature gets sorted out into the kind of standard that we're all expecting, because you put so much effort in. Fellas, it's been brilliant. Pleasure. Thanks for your time. Thanks for you guys for watching as well. And we'll all see you soon. Thank you.
Always good to see you, lads.
See you later, mate.
Cheers, boys.